This case was about a man being accused of attempting to murder his wife. But what I really want to highlight in this trial is the clash between the defense attorney and the judge. Take a look at the victim's testimony and the argument between the two lawyers. I'll explain afterward what triggered that debate, based on the law.
Good afternoon, Tatiele. No, Tailani. Victims. Tailani, what is your full name, please? It is Tailani Lopez Barbosa. You are hereby summoned to testify as a victim regarding the facts being investigated in this criminal case. The prosecutor will ask you some questions about these facts after the defense. Finally, if I have any questions, I'll ask you some too, okay, Tailani? Okay, good. Give the floor to the public prosecutor's office.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Tailani, for how many years were you legally married to the accused?
Almost 11 years and a few months. She was going to turn 12.
Why?
I've been with him since I was 17.
Since the age of 17.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
4.
4. When did the problems in this relationship begin?
From the beginning. From the beginning, I always had problems, but, it never went beyond a few slaps, right? It started with a curse word with insults, right? And with slaps. From those slaps, it escalated to punches and kicks. Then the situation got worse in 2021, which was when he tried to kill me for the first time. And from then on, after that, it continued in 2022 when there were 2 attempts in
2022. So you mentioned that the physical slaps got worse, and that started from 2021 onward?
No, from the beginning of the
Relationship. Was he or is he a drug user? At the
beginning, he never used drugs, no, because after he left the house, he didn't use drugs. As far as
what was he arrested for? Do you remember?
now or at the beginning?
Back at the beginning. For
Drug trafficking,
first, he was arrested for drug trafficking,
yes, and for forming a criminal gang,
and he actually stayed in jail. How long?
almost a year. I think it was about 10 months that he was in jail.
Okay. Besides this case of drug trafficking and forming a criminal gang, is there another one? Yes, there is.
Skip it.
Here. Are there others?
There are. He has an assault charge against a neighbor. He has illegal possession of a firearm. And there are other cases that are still under judicial secrecy because they haven't been tried yet.
Okay. At the beginning, you said he didn't use drugs. Did he have a job?
At the beginning, yes. When he got out, as soon as he got out, after a few months, an uncle of his, well, not really his uncle, but his aunt's husband, got him a job and he started working at Extra.
At Extra? Yes.
And
What did he do there at Extra?
he worked in the butcher section and then he moved to like FLV, which is organizing the products that get out of order in the store.
Did you work?
No.
So were you financially dependent on him?
Yes. In this case, yes, I was. But after a while, even though he was working, he wasn't helping me. His money was, as he used to say, I work for myself, not for you. His concern was always about having a car, having a bicycle, having better clothes than other people, and having a car and a gun. Because he always had a gun. It's not just now that he has these guns. He's had them since the beginning. When we were just starting out about 9 years ago, he already had another revolver that he bought in the same way from the same person he bought from, So this is nothing new. It's been like this from the start. And even if he doesn't have his own gun, he still has access to one. His friends and relatives are all in the same situation as he is.
Back when he was first arrested for this specific case, involving that attempted homicide charge that has already been processed through the women's court. Tell me, did your mother-in-law ever exert any pressure on you to drop those charges against him? Yes, she did. And also Sheila.
She is
encouraging it. Did the mother-in-law actually pressure you?
Yes, she even went after one of my aunts.
It wasn't inducement, sir.
She went after one of my witnesses whom they don't know is...
The witness. Did the mother-in-law say anything?
Sir, I didn't see any inducement. The floor is with the prosecutor.
All right, I want to proceed then.
It's recorded, sir. All right? You may continue, Dr. Yara.
Please keep answering.
She not only induced, but she also sought out a witness, mine, whom no one knows who she is until now, that she is my witness and because she had contact since she has his number on Rodrigo's phone, because when we were still married, he was still, as he was helping with the construction of the house, sometimes this person would contact him to allow access for the people to bring construction materials, things like that. This Sheila, in this case, gave this person's number to Adriana. Adriana got in touch with him. She told him that she has a document made by Rodrigo's lawyer, signed by Rodrigo, stating that she will take possession of my house and sell it. Because in this case, my brother and I were selling drugs in my house. Even though my brother had a warrant, he was caught sleeping, and there is no proof at all that he was selling drugs at the house. He was actually there as a caretaker because Sheila had already been there. She cut the pipes from my water tank, made a huge mess, went through my things, everything. She took belongings. But this last time, which is on that other document, this situation happened, what's right there, which I'd rather not even talk about, you know? You probably think you've already seen it, right? The document from... So since then, she's been harassing me. And since my brother was sleeping there, she disappeared for a while. After my brother was arrested, things got worse. There's a neighbor there who's her friend. She came up to me and said that she put a padlock on my house and that if I took it off, things wouldn't go well for me. But how is that possible? She puts a padlock on my house and I can't have access to my own home where my children and my belongings are. I just couldn't understand it. I went there with the people from Provide. We tried to break the padlock, but since we didn't have any tools, it wasn't possible. I had to go back later following their advice and I took off the padlock and put my own padlock there. Then, about 3 weeks ago, she went there, broke that padlock and did what you see there in the other case. You can see there that I'm not the one persecuting anyone. In fact, the neighbor and her husband, who are basically my witnesses who are against Rodrigo, have left Estrutural. Their own son came to tell me that, if possible, I shouldn't involve them because they're afraid. They left the federal district because they don't know if he will stay in jail and they're scared of what he might do since the case is still ongoing and they haven't been judged yet.
So, let's go back now to the various specific crimes that have been officially listed within the legal complaint document. Tell me when. At what moment did he use a weapon against you? Did he assault you with a weapon? Did he hit you with the butt of the gun? In
2021, in April of
2021. And what made him do that?
nothing. Nothing made him do it because he came up with a story that made no sense at all, saying I was having an affair with another man. I was sleeping in bed next to my baby because at that time, Elias, who is 4 years old now, was still a baby. He pulled me out of bed and said, "What is this story I heard, you slut?" And he started hitting me. He had already pulled me out of bed by my hair. I was in shock because I had been sleeping. He started beating me. He pulled out a gun. He even put it in my face. He put it right here on my forehead. He didn't even pull the trigger. When he moved it to my head, he started hitting me and tried to shoot. He kept pulling the trigger. And the bullet didn't fire because it was jammed. That's when he kept hitting me until he broke the skin. And he did break the skin. The thing is, I managed to push him away and get out. And he started looking for the bullets because that bullet was stuck. You understand? It was the only one that didn't fire. And
Thank God it didn't fire. We have another fact here that your brother had to...
it was because of this incident when he came to get me that I was able to call for help. I called, my brother heard and sent him over there to see what was happening.
What's your brother's name?
David Lopes.
David Lopes.
Yes.
Did he live nearby? Was he able to walk there?
He lived at my mom's. No, he borrowed a car from a friend of his. And
Did he rescue you?
yes,
Can you tell me roughly how many times, approximately how many times in total did you file a Maria da Penha report against him?
actually, I only filed one report against him, which was in 2015, but it was dismissed due to lack of evidence and witnesses. After that, I didn't want to file any more reports. But in October 2022, we ended up at the Deem because I had to call the police since he was stabbing the door with a knife and trying to kill me, saying he wanted to talk to me and that if I came out, it would not end well for me because I had managed to lock myself in the bedroom. So I had to call because I didn't have any credit. I didn't have any bonus to send a message to my sister. And since I called, we went straight to the Dean. We were supposed to go to the 8th precinct, but since it was a situation involving a woman and her children, they took us straight to the Dean.
Tell me, have you ever formally retracted any police report filed against him?
The one from 2015 was filed away, but I had to sign a statement of responsibility for getting back together with him.
In the most recent incidents, you requested a restraining order.
Yes.
Why did you request the restraining order?
Well, when he was arrested, I had the restraining orders in place. But then since he was in jail,
You had a restraining order and he violated the restraining order?
yes. Yes, he and his mother, because the violation of the restraining order happened because he and his mother tried to coerce me into dropping the charges. Then, since he was arrested, the restraining orders were going to be lifted. Then the lawyer got in touch to notify me, and I told her that I wanted to keep the restraining orders because there was another witness for him in the case, which was Pastor Fernando. I don't know the rest of his name. He started going to my mother's address, wanting me to give him the house key because he had belongings in the back of the house, which Rodrigo had let him use, and he said I was supposed to give him that key. I told him straight up that that's not how things work. No way. How was I supposed to just give him the key? Then he started saying that his business was with Rodrigo, that Rodrigo had given him the space, and that I was preventing him from accessing his things. I said, then let's go to the police station because there they can provide a patrol car or someone can go with us and you can collect your things. But then he started to change the subject and said he would set a date, that it wasn't quite like that, and left. After that, he started calling, saying he was going to file a lawsuit against me because the door was open. I have nothing to do with that. He made the deal with Rodrigo. I brought up the fact that I had changed the padlock. Why did I change it? My belongings were there. I had appliances and there was another padlock on it. And the ones who were actually having access were him and Sheila, this woman who's with Rodrigo. So I really did change the padlocks because it's my house. How could I not change them? During that time. Oh, and about what he mentioned, I actually went there to the house with him so he could take his belongings out. While he was taking them out, he started trying to persuade me, saying that I should drop the case, that I should go back. Okay, get my head straight. Because I would end up getting back together with Rodrigo and I would regret continuing with the case.
So that was Pastor Fernando?
Yes. And then he came back again to my mother's place and kept saying the same things, saying that he had had some visions of me holding the child and Rodrigo being desperate and that we would end up in the hospital and there would be a lot of blood, that I should give the marriage another chance because he was with Sheila, but that it wasn't love, that it wasn't from God. I said, let me tell you something. If I see Rodrigo in front of me, I won't think twice. I'll call the police because I don't want to have any kind of contact with him.
In this whole situation, did he contribute to supporting the children? Because they stayed only with you these past years?
Yes, he did not contribute. That's why I requested a restraining order so I could start the custody process. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to understand. Had you received, I'll explain it to you. You were going to file for custody and child support, and then you requested the restraining order. Why?
Yes, out of fear. Because since he had already, when he spoke, everything was fine. He was just talking. He would say, I'm going to kill you, you wretch. He was just talking. It was nothing but words. It was nothing but slaps. But from 2021 on, when he tried, I realized he wasn't just talking anymore. He wasn't talking. He was just doing things, When he became someone like a monster, he became a monster, Because I never did anything. I never gave him a reason. I was always at home taking care of the kids. I helped him. Look, you see, the people who made the donation, they donated this house and everything, all for the children. And they told him, they said, you have to think, you have to get better, find a job and try to help Thailandia and the kids. But he did the opposite. He got worse. Because after that happened, because people thought that since we were in a precarious, difficult situation, sometimes the aggression and this kind of violence was because of that. But no, there is no justification. Because stability doesn't justify it. Because we were stable. We were in a situation where all we had to do was get a job and live a normal, peaceful life. But he didn't want to. He started to go crazy. And he wasn't into drugs or alcohol because he's already done that without any underlying problems, folks. He even went so far as to threaten my pregnant sister at my mother's front door.
What is your sister's name?
Tatiele. That's why I requested protective measures especially since he has a relative who pays child support and who has already been arrested for non-payment. And what did he say? If you ever put me in the PA police station, I'll kill you. I go, I could be locked up for 1, 2, 3 months, but when I get out, I'll get you, you wretched woman. He says he always made it clear. He always said, if you put me in the PA, you'll regret it. You understand? And he also said now at the end, when I went there at the end of November 2023, sorry, I went to get some things, mine and the kids, because it was getting close to Christmas. He even said like, oh, I don't know what. If you put me in, I'm going to file a lawsuit against you because if you file for child support, you'll see. You're the one who's going to end up losing in this whole story. I said, oh, really? I'm going to destroy you in court. I really said it. I told him because he said just like that he was going to leave me with nothing. He said, if it depends on me, you'll be left with nothing. You'll end up under a bridge because I'm not going to leave you anything. As if he were the owner, as if he had paid for everything there.
All of these wonderful things you have right now were generously donated by members of the local community.
In the case of a center that was intended for me and the children, Rodrigo was made very aware because they said the donation is not for you, it's specific. For the children and the wife, in case of separation, you will leave. You leave. And also because he has a house. The house where his mother lives in Aguas Lindas belongs to him and his sister. Do you understand?
Thailandia, if he is released, are you afraid of being killed?
I do. And I am absolutely certain that he will come after me. Because from what I see, the way he's lying, Rodrigo doesn't change. If he didn't change in 11 years of marriage with 4 children, I've already given up on that change. I couldn't go back home because of that. We spent the whole of last year trying to reconcile. He kept saying he was going to get treatment. He didn't get any treatment so that he could, because he used drugs. But the issue wasn't the drug use, because ever since he joined that church, according to him, he hadn't used either alcohol or drugs. But every time he showed up at my mother's house trying to convince me to go back home with the kids, and I told him that I wasn't ready, that there was no way I could go back, and he would change completely. He would start cursing. He would get really agitated out there on the street, right in front of my mother's house. I had to go inside and lock the gate.
So right now you're living at your mother's house.
I have to stay there until the month when I was getting the house ready to move back, and then this incident happened right then.
This is the police report the prosecutor requested, now added to the case. That's it, I'm satisfied.
We just saw the prosecutor's questions. Now it's the defense attorney's turn. And notice the difference in how the judge treated these two professionals.
Thank you, ma'am. Defense?
So I'd like to have access to that, or will you be able to forward the case files now?
No, not right now. I'm holding a hearing right now, sir. I'll add it to the record at the end of the hearing.
I understand. Is there perhaps anything else at all that you would like to bring up or mention right now?
A question, sir?
Yes, there is.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you? I'm Dr. Brito, Rodrigo's lawyer. I'll start by asking a question. You mentioned a lawyer for Rodrigo here. Did you prepare a document?
His mother, Sheila, did. I don't know who that lawyer is.
They told you that, ma'am? They told...
Third parties.
Did these third parties mention the lawyer's name?
No, they didn't mention the name, no. They just said the lawyer.
When was this?
It was recently, a few months ago. I think it's been about a month, if I'm not mistaken.
It's
about to be a month.
I understand. And these people who told you, ma'am?
Not these people, just one person said it.
One person. What is the person's name?
Can I not mention the name? Because he is my witness and I don't want to expose him.
Ask, doctor.
He seems to have a lawyer.
He wants to know the name. I just said that they said lawyer. I didn't say a name because they said he wants to know the name of the witness. He wants to know the name of the witness. Can I not mention his name here?
I want to ask about the facts, doctor. Yes.
It has everything to do with it. There is a family member who is coercing, instructed.
I've already said it was his current mother, his spouse.
What is the question, doctor?
Instructed by a lawyer. I want to know who is saying that there is a lawyer.
It's Adriane,
The question is, what is the name of the person who said that there is a lawyer advising the family to do this and that?
No, but that's not relevant, doctor.
It's not relevant? It's not relevant. Ah, that too. Okay. And the public prosecutor said here that you were pistol whipped.
I've already said that even in the first one.
Were you pistol whipped?
Do I need to answer? Because in the first hearing it was clear, I answered, we even got to the middle of the situation,
The first hearing wasn't recorded.
right?
We are doing this as if it were the first one now.
Okay.
Were you a victim of pistol whipping?
Well, yes, I was.
All right then. How many?
I can't tell you how many. I just know it caused a wound on my head.
All right then. And any other part of your body?
No, because I was so stressed, so nervous. I only realized the injury when I got to my mother's house.
All right then. These injuries, the pistol whipping,
It was caused by the weapon he tried to shoot me with. He tried to shoot me in the head in this case.
he
He couldn't do it because the bullet got stuck because there was a.
You've already given that answer, ma'am. Do you have any questions that haven't been asked yet, especially in cases of domestic violence, sir? I do not allow for the victim to be re-victimized here, but I am,
revictimizing?
by asking the question several times, making her relive the moment of anguish, the suffering she went through with the violence, that's a form of re-victimization. These questions have already been asked by the public prosecutor's office. I asked the counselor not to ask repeated questions, especially regarding the assault the victim suffered. You have the floor.
So I will not ask about the assault she suffered.
No, because the prosecution already did.
So I will remain silent?
No more questions?
No, I will claim restriction of defense. I can't ask.
Regarding repeated questions, no. Counselor, you are within the law. Repeated question to the judge.
What is your question? In the first hearing, it was with the butt of the gun. In the other, it wasn't with the butt of the gun. It was the barrel of the revolver. This is the...
First,
Hearing? This is the first hearing, Dr. Esley. If you have non-repetitive questions, you are free to ask them. There is no restriction whatsoever. But I cannot allow repeated questions, especially those that would make the victim relive the moment she suffered at their hands. Here, or may have experienced at some point.
I have no way to investigate what supposedly happened without asking about what happened.
But if those questions have already been asked, they cannot be asked again. If they haven't been asked, you are free to proceed. It's in the law, doctor. Repeated questions cannot be asked.
You said here that you told him, I'm going to finish you in court. What did you mean by that?
that I would file a lawsuit against him and request custody because he took possession of my house. All my belongings were still there in my own house. He didn't want to let me have access and said he was going to sell the house and wouldn't leave anything for me. I'm covering all the expenses. I'm raising my children alone, all four of them. So everything is on me. Rodrigo started working in September. He never helped me with anything. On the contrary, he would show up at my mother's house wanting me to give him money for God's sake. Who knows what he was doing there? Even though he was getting his paycheck, I don't know what he was doing with it. And it wasn't for me or the kids. He put on his work records that he had 4 children with me, said he was married, and even used my mother's address because I got a notification when he was arrested there. His work sent a letter asking for an explanation because it had already been almost a month since he last showed up at work.
I see.
I had to say I'd end it. I'd take him to court since he first said he'd leave me with nothing.
Now I understand.
And he started trying to intimidate me in my own house.
And
I was there with our 2 children.
ours.
Daughter we have, she's just a baby. She doesn't have any emotional memory of her father because of all this. He got close to her and she tried to get away from him out of fear.
Do you understand? I understand up to this point. Thank you, ma'am. Look, you said the house was donated by other people. Do you have any proof of this donation? Anyone? Did anyone write it down?
Because he is,
My witness. Is there the name of any donor?
I won't name names here, doctor.
This is a crime. It's an attempted femicide. What is the relevance of
The victim's credibility.
The victim's credibility.
Everything is donated.
the victim's credibility? Yes, of course.
Of the word.
Of the victim. Can I add something? No.
Limited to the facts, doctor. I'm not judging the victim's credibility, however.
Then I have the duty to do so. Because the house is at the root of everything.
This here? But the house is not the reason for the facts in the case, doctor. You can go to civil court and speak there. And here,
All the time.
just a moment, please. Thank you.
Doctor, let us decide a technical matter here. I'm going to have trouble continuing with the judge if I'm interrupted at every moment. I won't be able to do it. I'm gonna...
I have trouble continuing if I have to interrupt you, doctor, because I'm here to oversee the proceedings, doctor. Unfortunately, it's not being done the right way. You're trying to repeat questions. You're trying to ask questions that are not relevant to the case.
You keep calling me T?
What?
Of T.
The
You said interrupt you. You use that informal language. And by interrupting me, there's nothing I can do.
What should I call you, Islay?
Well, what is the proper form of address here? I'm not saying I'll tell you. I'll... Not T. We are using formal address here?
All right, doctor. Do you have any more questions, doctor?
I will continue to keep my silence.
Tailani, regarding the facts here, you mentioned that one of your children was in bed at the time of the attempt. Yes, in this case.
There were two, but the one who was sleeping next to me was Eliezer.
All right. How old was he? 1 year old at the time?
He was basically 1
Year old. What was the child's reaction at the moment of the assault?
At first, he didn't wake up, but when I started trying to get Rodrigo off me and began shouting for him to stop, he woke up scared, crying.
Crying?
Yes.
All right. Do the children receive any kind of treatment, psychological counseling?
No.
It's true. Thanks.
We started receiving psychological support. But then, no, we did it, and that's the end of it. Then they said if there are any more problems that I should come back to resume the sessions again.
It's true. I have no more questions. It's over. Thank you, Thailand.
You're welcome.
This is a complicated situation. The judge wouldn't allow the defense attorney to ask any questions at all. That's very dangerous. The judge argued that a victim of domestic violence shouldn't be subjected to an uncomfortable interrogation with excessive questions during the hearing. The Brazilian Maria da Penha law clearly states that it's the woman's right not to go through that kind of situation, avoiding repeated questions about the same facts that were already asked in the criminal, civil, and administrative proceedings. That means if the victim already told her story to the police and the prosecution, for example, the defense attorney isn't supposed to make her repeat it. And this is something the legal community criticizes a lot. The thing is, the purpose of hearing the victim isn't just to clarify the facts. It's also to see if she falls into any contradictions. We have to understand that protecting the victim is important. She's clearly suffering a lot when she has to remember what happened. But in this particular case, it didn't seem like that was happening. If a lawyer asks the same question 2, 3, or 5 times in exactly the same way just to make the victim suffer, then yes, that lawyer should be reprimanded. But in this case, he only asked once. If the police have the right to ask questions, and the prosecution has that right, and the judge has that right, shouldn't the defense attorney, who plays one of the most important roles in a trial, also have it? And just to be clear, this criticism isn't about defending this specific defendant, because from what we see, he does look guilty. The point here is to defend the principle of the law. It's extremely dangerous to take away a lawyer's right to defend his client. It's worth remembering one of the basic principles of justice. In case of doubt, the accused must be acquitted. Better that 1,000 guilty people go free than one innocent person go to prison. The judge didn't allow the defense attorney to ask who the victim's witnesses were. Come on, that's extremely important. The law expressly says that if a witness has close ties to one of the parties, their testimony should be taken with caution. Plus, we need to know if that person actually exists and if they really said what the victim claims. This worries a lot of lawyers because it limits their ability to do their job when defending an accused person, who, by the way, isn't always guilty. What's scary is that if this becomes the rule, tomorrow it could be applied in my cases, and maybe even in yours. Imagine being falsely accused of something, and the judge not letting you defend yourself just because the victim answered questions to the police years ago. That doesn't seem fair at all. But tell me your opinion about this case. Do you think the judge acted correctly by preventing the lawyer from asking questions? Or do you think she harmed the defense of the accused? I want to read your comment.